It's the Fatboy Show on RX Radio. How you doing? My name is Fatboy, and I'm here with the amazing Olive, who is always very pleasant to be around. The other day, she shouted at me.
Oh, gosh. I did not
but we are still
shout
friends.
at you. I was being stern. I did not shout at you.
Yeah, so we've been having a series of very heated conversations lately on the issue of sexual harassment. And both Olive and Sarah have very strong opinions on this issue. And I think it is an issue that should be revisited. And I feel like the more we discuss it, the more we shall arrive at some clarity. And perhaps we shall be able to conduct the conversation with a cooler heads.
Cooler?
But it's always fun to have those conversations.
Yeah, it is.
Now, speaking of cooler heads, obviously, when one thinks of Gen Kale Kayihura, many would have thought of him as a hothead, especially during the time he was the IGP. If you are on the wrong political side, oh yeah, you had a rough time with Kayihura. Or if you were accused of being engaged in criminal activity, perhaps you were not always accorded your full rights or due process. So he is and remains a very infamous part of our history in Uganda police. And not long after exiting from the role and being replaced from it, he then became the subject of prosecution by the state.
Yes.
Who arrested him on, I don't even, what were the charges?
I don't remember the charges.
They arrested him for something.
Yeah, and he was under house arrest. Apparently, some of his property was attached. He lost his job as IGP and many other things. His passport was taken away. I don't know if it has, been given back to him yet.
Well, I don't know if it will even be of any use, because now it's coming out that the UK government has imposed sanctions on several individuals, including former police chief Gen Kale Kayihura, for reportedly engaging in human rights abuses and violations. Mm-hmm. These abuses were said to have been done between 2005 and 2018 when Kayihura served as police chief. While Kayihura was in charge, he oversaw multiple units responsible for human rights violations, including torture and other cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment and punishment, according to a statement by the UK Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly. And as part of the sanctions, the former IGP will no longer be allowed to enter the UK or channel money through UK banks or even profit from the UK economy. This means that all property he has in the UK, if he has any, will be seized by the UK government.
Whoa. This is what happens every time. For people who like to invest in these bigger economies, of course, that's a good move. But in the event that you are in the bad, in the event that you have
books.
trouble and you are in the bad books of the law of that country, you're going to lose it all.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many Russian billionaires who had invested in UK properties.
Yes,
in
the
Europe.
guy who owned Chelsea.
Yeah. And so, because, Russia fell out of favor with the West and these sanctions just were heaped down on them.
Yes.
A lot of them have lost their vast fortunes.
Yes.
Yachts, entire yachts, jets confiscated.
Confiscated, accounts frozen, everything taken.
Very painful.
Yes.
Now, the question is, does Kayihura deserve these sanctions? And if so, wouldn't it be odd that the person who he was reporting to is currently in the UK, or at least was for a stopover yesterday as he was en route to the States?
Yes.
So I'm not saying that there's a direct link, but it would you would think that if you're going to penalize the guy who carried out the orders, you're also going to penalize the guy who issued them.
But you need to have proof that the guy you're talking about actually issued the orders, because he can say in his defense, and he's known for saying things in his defense, that he was in the dark, that he didn't know when such decisions were being made. And who knows, he could be right or wrong.
And do you think his prosecution here could have been a part of that ruse to paint a picture of distance between the president and Kayihura's actions?
Definitely.
To make it seem like, hey, actually, this guy was a bad actor, so I'm even prosecuting him. So don't pin his crimes on me.
I didn't sanction
them, and we're going after him. Except he was pardoned. Was he not released?
No, he is not in jail, but the president has not yet fully given him a full pardon.
Oh,
He
yeah?
said he's considering it.
Okay, so so I don't know if the case was settled, resolved, dropped, or I have no understanding of where things stand now.
Maybe not yet. That's why he's not serving the government. He went back into private practice as a lawyer. I don't know which law firm he works for, but he's a lawyer by profession. And the last I saw on Twitter, he was donning that lawyer's attire, and it seemed like he had decided to go back where he started from.
Okay, that's very interesting. What about the fact that these sanctions were announced while the president was in the UK? Is that symbolic in any way? Do you think?
No, I think when the UK Foreign Secretary made these remarks, the president was in attendance because he was in the UK. He was,
Okay.
yes. And by the way, this is not the first time Kayihura is being sanctioned, because even the United States did this way back in 2019.
Yes.
Over the same, over the same crimes, apparently human rights violations. But I remember back in the day when the president fired him, rumor had it, and of course there was a lot of discourse on the internet about what Kayihura had done, and some people were alleging that many of the things that he did or that were done during his tenure at police were not sanctioned by the president. I don't know if you remember footage of guys in plain clothes that were beating border guys, and they were claiming that they're doing it on behalf of the police. And apparently the president never signed up on that. And of course there were abductions and the alleged torture in Alfenia, all that.
Well, that's very unfortunate. So I don't know, man. I don't know if other countries are going to come forward and slap more sanctions on Kayihura. But to just wake up one morning and realize that you're banned from all of these countries, I bet he regrets the day he ever accepted the job.
Well, he can still travel to many other countries where he doesn't need a visa, though I know for a fact that if you cannot go to Europe, though this is just the UK, but let's say if he can't get a Schengen visa and then he can't get into the United States, then his options have become really slim, because that's where most Africans go, and that's where they like to, launder money through and stuff like that.
Moral of the story: do not torture innocent civilians.
Yes, don't abuse your power in office. That includes sexual harassment.
Yeah, and you don't need to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Well, keep listening to RX Radio, to number one station, and this is the Fatboy Show.